Hey guys, welcome back to Why Not Travel. And once again, this is Robert. And I'm going to answer the question, or actually kind of attempt to answer the question of, should I actually take a cruise and is a cruise actually right for me? I get this question answered or asked to me a lot from new cruisers and from people that have never been on a cruise. And I'm going to give you my honest opinion about cruises. Now, if you guys have been following me already, you already know I love cruises. However, I will say cruises are actually not for everyone. I have met some people that are just not meant to cruise, and I will acknowledge those groups of people. So, who shouldn't actually take a cruise? Well, if you're going to have the mindset and you're just already stuck in your ways that cruise ships are bad for the environment, they pollute the ocean, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I have heard all of the reasons a million times. But if you're stuck in those beliefs and you don't want to change those beliefs, then fine, don't take a cruise. Just hands down, don't. I mean, I could go into the statistics to prove majority of that wrong and how the cruise industry is really trying to make their carbon footprint smaller on the ocean and in the world. But the bottom line of it is if you're stuck in your beliefs and that's all you want to hear and believe, well, nothing I say or try to say will change your view on that. And yeah, cruising's not for you, and it is what it is. So the next person that I don't think should go on a cruise. If you don't like crowds, don't go on a cruise. I mean, the cruising is a very sociable activity and event and whatnot. And if you don't like crowded spaces, now don't get me wrong, there's areas on every single ship. I don't care what ship you say, there is always an area on the ship where there will be less people. So there's always a getaway from the crowds. But overall, yes, you're going to be around a lot of people. So just kind of keep that in mind. If that's not your thing, well, cruising is probably not going to be for you. Also, if you get extremely motion sickness, now I will say, yes, it is true. The bigger the ship, the less you're going to feel it move. That is true for most cases, and usually people that tell me that they're leery about getting motion sickness or seasickness, I tell them try to go on a bigger ship, because the smaller the ship, the more it's going to move around and whatnot. But even still, I have met people that they have tried everything. They take Bonine or other medications to help them combat their seasickness. And unfortunately, there's a small percentage out there that no matter what they do, they're still going to get seasick, especially if the ship goes through a storm, which is always a possibility on a cruise. Another group of people that should not take a cruise is people that really can't roll with the punches. And what do I mean by this? Well, yes, you book a cruise with, say, to the Bahamas, and you plan this entire trip, and you're all excited and whatnot. But there's something the cruise lines cannot control, and that is the weather. Ultimately, when it's all said and done, the crew on board a cruise ship and the cruise line itself, their biggest priority is to keep everyone safe. Yes, they're trying to make sure everyone has fun and a good time, but their ultimate goal is to keep everyone safe. With that said, if there's a storm, for example, a hurricane, they're not going to send their cruise ship directly into the storm just because you booked it to go to the Bahamas. And that's just the reality of it. I mean, ultimately, if they realize that it's unsafe, there's no way that they could dock there safely, and it could make it very uncomfortable for the passengers, or even worse, cause injury or even death, and I'm serious about that, then the cruise line has the right to change the itinerary. So you might find you had a cruise booked for the Bahamas and you got to roll with the punches. Sometimes you're going to find out they're going to have to change their itinerary and not make those ports. For example, I was on a cruise just recently out of California, and it was actually the Carnival Radiant's inaugural voyage. And what they realized is there was a storm. And so they reversed our itinerary. Basically, our first day turned into a sea day, and we still went to all the ports. They just did the cruise literally backwards, if you will, compared to what we originally booked. And that could happen too. I mean, cruise lines are going to try their hardest to make it to the ports, but they might have to switch the days that you go to these ports if possible. But just keep that in mind. If you're going to get upset because the port you dreamed about going to is not going to happen because of the weather, well, cruising is probably not for you either. Like I said, cruising, you have to roll with the punches and go with the flow. And if you're just not one of those people and have to have complete control, cruising's not for you. So with all that said, who is cruising for? Well, for one, if you want to see the world and travel and do it for cheap and on a budget, cruising's the best way to do it. It's the best deal out there. I mean, if you break it down, cost per day on a cruise ship compared to how much it would be if you book your hotel and food and all that, you will realize the cruise is always cheaper when it's all said and done. I know people have tried to convince me otherwise, but when you actually add up all the costs and compare that to the total cost of a cruise, it's always cheaper. It never fails. It's always cheaper. So if you're one of those people that want a good deal and want to travel and you want to travel on a budget, cruising is your option. And it's a very good option because not only does it cover a place to sleep, you're also paying for all your food and entertainment in one go. Yes, there's upcharges on a cruise ship, but you don't have to do that. And so that's why cruising on a could be done on a budget, especially if you're not picky about your cabin. So if you like a deal, cruising is right up your alley. If you want to see multiple places in a week's time or less and not have to stress over how are you going to get to and from these places, cruising is there. I mean, that's exactly what a cruise is. Almost every single day you're in a different port experiencing new things and new cultures, and you have that safety of I don't have to worry about traveling to the next destination. The cruise ship's taking care of it for me. Another thing is if you like Broadway shows and concerts and live entertainment, cruising is right up your alley once again. That's what makes a cruise ship. That was actually one of the very first forms of entertainment on a cruise ship before all the added activities on board were added. So once again, if you're into that kind of thing, cruise, you're probably going to like a cruise. If you also want to go on a vacation and make sure that there's something for everyone in the family to do, once again, cruising is probably right there with you. All the cruise lines have kid activities and activities for all age groups to make sure everyone enjoys their time. And it also allows the parents to step back, enjoy their cruise as the crew take care of the kids in the kids club. And also depending on the cruise line, I mean, come on, Carnival now has a roller coaster on their cruise ships. I mean, I still can't get over that. And then you could go over to NCL and they have go-karts on board cruise ships. And then if you go over to Royal Caribbean, well, they have surfing, rock climbing, bumper cars, you name it. So, so like I said, especially the big three, which I just mentioned right now, they're really designed for families and keeping everyone entertained. So if you fall into any of these categories and you're like, yes, a cruise does sound nice, maybe this is something right up my alley, and you have never cruised before, the next thing you have to do is research. And what do I mean by that? Well, first you need to determine where do you want to go. Basically, cruise ships go anywhere in the world at this point. So if you want to go to Australia, there's cruises down there. If you want to do Europe, there's cruises to the Caribbean, Bahamas, there's cruises, Mexico, there's cruises, Alaska, you name it, there is a cruise. It boils down to, do you have the money to go on those cruises and the flights and everything. But once you determine, yes, I want to go on a cruise, and you know where you want to go, the next thing you need to figure out is what cruise line is right for you. The reason why I say that is all veteran cruisers or seasoned cruisers will say every cruise line is different. And I can't stress that enough. And you want to make sure you pick a cruise line that is right for you. This is when you need to be very, very honest with yourself. What are you looking to get out of this cruise? Is it the destination is more important than the cruise ship? That's a factor to play into it. Is it the price? That's another factor. Are you looking for more of an elevated, luxurious, adult style cruise? Or are you looking for something more younger at heart, or a family cruise? Cruises that are family oriented and have activities for everyone. You got to take this into consideration. And I have a story to tell you. I have met someone that told me, oh, I went on a cruise and I absolutely hated it. And the first question that I asked was, where did you go and what was the cruise like? Well, they went on a cruise out of California. Most of my stories are from California because I live in California. But anyways, they went on a cruise out of California, and they said the ship was just way too formal. It's just not me, because I'm more casual and I didn't like getting dressed up every night. And I was confused. And I was like, well, once again, what cruise line did you go on? They went on board Cunard. Now, I know Cunard is a cruise line that if you're new to cruising, you don't know what it is. But to sum it up, Cunard is the Royal British Line. And if you go into their history, they go back to the 1800s. And they actually merged in with White Star Line. And if White Star Line doesn't sound familiar to you, I'll just say one word that sums it up. They own the Titanic. So they're very traditional. It's a very British, and they're probably one of the very few cruise lines out there that still conduct the traditional cruising experience from like the 30s and 50s and stuff like that, where you got to dress up every night and you go to a ball every night in the ballroom, and they have a live band. And when I say live band, I'm not talking guitars, I'm talking violins and trumpets and all that, and classical music. And that's what Cunard's all about. It's just that experience of going on a cruise and experiencing how it was back in its heyday. And so, yeah, of course, if that's not up your alley, you're going to hate the cruise, and you're going to be you just can't wait to get off the ship. And so this goes back to do your research and make sure you're honest with yourself and say, what do I really want out of this cruise? And because every cruise line caters to a certain market. Yes, some of the cruise lines overlap, like NCL, Royal Caribbean, and Carnival. They're all designed for the family market, but I can tell you right now, the experience on each three of those brands are completely different. And so just kind of keep that in mind. And actually, I'm going to throw MSC out there, because MSC is making a big push right now to get into the North American market and get more Americans on board their ships. But MSC is different, and what I mean by that is they're a European cruise line. So a lot of Americans are turned off by MSC. The ships are beautiful, but they don't care for the food and whatnot. But MSC is taking that feedback, and they're realizing they have to make changes for the American market. So we'll see how that all plays out. So this may be overwhelming, and it may be you may be thinking, wow, I didn't think of all this. That is a lot to think about before booking my first cruise. Is there a resource, or can I get help for this? That's where a travel agent comes into play. If you have never cruised or traveled before, I highly suggest to use a travel agent. I mean, yes, you may be one of those people that are like to be in complete control and you know exactly what you want and you want to plan it out. And if you're one of those types of people, then fine. There's your challenge. Do your research, find out exactly what all the cruise lines offer, and go from there. But if you're unsure about all that, that's where a travel agent uh, that's why they have a job and why they get paid, is to find out what type of person you really are, what are you actually looking for, and aligning you with a cruise vacation that will meet your needs. And like I said, go with a travel agent, most definitely, especially if you're booking a cruise for the first time, because there's a lot of variables out there that will make or break your cruise experience. So there you have it, guys. Hopefully you found this information informative and interesting. And in the future, I'll make more videos like this. Maybe I'll make a video of how to cruise as often as possible and get amazing deals. Because a lot of times people don't talk about that. Got to figure out how I want to do that video. For various reasons. But anyways, I hope to do different videos like this, and I plan on doing videos of destinations themselves and what to do and what to expect when you get there. Until next time though, I ask you this: why not travel? See ya.